Hi, I'm Mark Malusis, New York sports personality. You've heard me on radio and seen me on TV. Now I'm teaching right here at Iona. That's right. I'm an instructor in the new Sports Communication and Media graduate program. All classes are taught by industry professionals like myself in our brand new state-of-the-art digital lab. For more information, go to iona.edu and search sports communication or email graduate coordinator Mike Damergis. Go Gales!
Mike Damergis here with Mr. Corey Galloway of Legacy Growth Partners, and Mr. Galloway is starting a new venture in Westchester County at the Westchester County Center, the Arena Football League New York Streets. Corey,
Yes.
First off, tell us how you got involved in this.
Yeah. So I've been involved in the arena sports industry since for the past 8 years. Ran a team with Marcus Colson, NFL player, as a COO.
He was a Hofstra graduate.
He was a Hofstra
right?
graduate.
Played for the Saints for a bunch of
Yes,
years
he did.
there. Yeah, he was quite the player.
Yeah. Great person. Better person than player, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. He had some good years with
some great
Damergis.
years. Yeah. So Marcus and I went on this venture to work on the Harrisburg Stampede, and we came in as minority partners. And then the second year we took over as full-blown operators. So we operated that business for about 4 years in Harrisburg. And so it was the Harrisburg Stampede. We won the championship of that league. It was the AIF, and then just started learning more about it. Shut down the team after 4 years, and then Marcus made an investment in the Philadelphia Soul, which is the AFL. Met a lot of the people of the ownership group at the
As Bon Jovi was involved.
Bon
with that
Jovi
team
was
as
in
well.
it, yeah, and Ron Jaworski as well, a couple other guys, and we were looking at it and said, hey, what's next? And I thought to myself, what's next? And I thought that the spring and summer, just from a capitalist point of view, we make different investments in different industries, and we didn't see anyone being a secondary offer to football.
Well, let me just cut you off there. The President of the United States owned the New Jersey Generals of the
Yes,
USFL.
he did.
He'd say you were crazy, and we'd seen past leagues in the past, the WSFL, the USFL, the World League of NFL Europe. We've had the Arena Football Leagues, and they've come and gone. What makes you think the new league will succeed?
Yeah, so I think that it's all risk, first and foremost. But I think we'll have a product that's affordable, is fast-paced, and I think it's family-friendly. I think the difference is they just haven't marketed the league right. I think what we hope to do is bring all these indoor arena leagues together. They're so fragmented. So there's about 4 or 5 different.
It's almost like boxing titles in a lot of ways. People don't know. It doesn't have the same zero in as the NFL or the NBA. Like you said, it's very fragmented.
Right. So I think that each market, Philadelphia has a strong fan base. Ted Leonis started the Washington Valor and the Baltimore team. The Washington Valor has a strong fan base. I think the Cleveland Gladiators, with the ownership of the Cleveland Cavaliers, they had a strong fan base. And I think Iona Barnstormers have a strong fan base. So those markets have strong fan bases. But what happens when you have conversations with broadcasters, they want to know, do you have a national coverage? And so no arena team can offer national coverage because it's so fragmented. So I can give you the Northeast, I can give you, the Southwest, I can give you the West Coast, I can give you Midwest. I can't give you the entire country. I can't give you 32 teams competing, during the spring and summer, which people will be engaged in. I think what happened in the 2001, 2000 years, arena football was at its height. I mean, each team had a valuation of roughly like $20 to $25 million each team. And then what happens when you start increasing at that level financially, then you get the unions involved from the player side. And I think what happens, if we're successful, we'll have to start figuring out how do we work along with the players if we're successful. No guarantees on whether we'll be successful or not, but the way we'll become successful is for all these leagues to come together, because no one knows whether it's an IFL, Indoor Football League, if it's the National Arena League, or it's the Arena Football League. No one knows, no one cares. There's not enough mass to say, hey, we really care about you being in the AFL versus the NAL. It's very much core football fans and maybe for us, we have like 2,000 fans. Which
you talk about the TV contracts. When the USFL folded in 1986, they left $170 million on the table. ABC, ESPN said if you stay in the spring, we'll extend the contracts. Donald Trump pushed owners to go to the fall schedule. That made the contracts null and void. What kind of interest and feelers do you have from the network so far? And also, there's a little something called the internet right now and YouTube, so you can broadcast the games on there.
Yeah. So right now we have we had a good meeting the other day with Yes Network. That was pretty good. Did not know they were a Fox Sport affiliate. So I learned that, and that they cover the entire country from the local affiliate's point of view. One of the creative things that
and up for sale right now. So
right. That's right. And one of the creative things we discussed yesterday is how to make this digestible to other markets like New York, Massachusetts, Jacksonville, Orlando. Is if Jacksonville is airing their games on the local market, we can do a feed into the New York market. So now it doesn't cost any dollars on the production side. And then this model is actually being done right now in baseball during the preseasons. So if there's a preseason game and the Minnesota Twins are playing the New York Yankees, the Minnesota Twins will take the Yankee feed from Yes directly.
Yes, I know they did that last year, and there was a lot of flack for that.
Was it really?
There was a lot of flack for that because people like to listen to their own home calls. They do that.
Right.
But something new venture like the Arena Football League is something different. People aren't used to their home. Their home play-by-play announcers.
Right,
so this is something that would certainly cut on costs. People don't know it's a big expense to send broadcasters' equipment down there to cover games.
That's right. And so the other conversation we're having next week is with Bleacher Report. So what I didn't know, I learned more about Bleacher Report is they are the highest traffic sports streaming site. So I was surprised they learned about that. And then I didn't know that they were owned by TBS either, which actually is a good partnership to have. So those are the things we're looking at. We did have conversations last year with Facebook, some really good friends at Google who discussed YouTube, but I think they've done that before. I think last year the AFL did a Facebook Live. Years before that, they've always aired the games on YouTube. It just hasn't had the general mass appeal to warrant, do we graduate from this, or can we get dollars from advertisers because we have such a great audience.
Talk about the team itself. What kind of players are you looking for? Players that are looking for a few more years, or might you find a Kurt Warner?
We hope
in there. Where are you going to get your players from?
Yeah, so we hope we have a Kurt Warner right now. So we signed 20 guys. 75% of our guys has been on an NFL roster, played Division I football. So those are the level of talent that we're looking for, and our goal is to make you better by the time you finish the season than before you started the season. So we want guys that are aspiring to get back into the NFL, and we want to figure out how do we help you become better. So we have our own practice facility, and it has its own practice field, which is brand new. We just purchased that from the Tampa Bay Storm. We have a nutritionist on staff. We have trainers on staff. So we feel like we offer a lot of, because we have a good relationship with the Jets, a lot of things that the Jets offer, we want to offer the same thing to our players on a minor league arena level.
And talk about the arena itself, I guess an artificial turf, how many yards and how many players on the field?
So there's 8 players on each side of the ball. The size of the field is 50 yards. It's the exact same size of a hockey rink, basically. And the idea was born from, at Madison Square Garden, the founder of Arena Football said, wow, why can't we put on a football game inside these walls of a hockey rink? And it's been able to work. So brand new field, we cost quite a bit. It's like almost $250,000.
Do people vie for the artificial turf to go into the arena? Are there different companies with different kind of turf, and for player safety, you want obviously the most padded for the player safety?
So we have the highest level turf from a player safety point of view to prevent concussions. We also feel that because the field is smaller that the impacts won't be as high because there's not enough room for you to.
What about crashing against the wall, though? I've seen some of these
crash up against
it's
the
like
wall.
football meets hockey.
The wall gives a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
So,
okay.
it's rare that you see someone, running their head into the wall. It's usually body. But, the field size, 50 yards, and it's the size of an indoor hockey rink. Or outdoor hockey rink.
So it's obviously important to embrace the community. Probably going to reach out to some local high school football kids, maybe have them talk to the kids. I mean, how important it is to get the community involved?
Very important. So I have a good relationship with New Rochelle High School, obviously being from New Rochelle, and also I coach New Rochelle Youth Tackle League, so I know that coach pretty well. I know Steppenak's coaches pretty well. They actually reached out and texted me and said congratulations. Mm-hmm. And we signed a guy from Steppenak actually a week ago. So I feel like all, the Iona Preps, Lincoln High School, all those high schools are important to have strong relationships with, because really it is, from a sports point of view, the only place that you can afford to go and watch live football for guys that are at that pro level. May not be NFL, but they're definitely have been in the NFL camp. They've had what they would say, a taste of the NFL. So, yeah.
Okay, we're talking with Mr. Corey Galloway here, new owner of the New York Streets of the National Arena Football League. Is that correct? How do you say it here? I can't get the arena thing right. Called NAL. NAL, just like that.
Yeah.
Talk about your career a little bit. You had a real interesting career besides being a tremendous businessman right now.
Right.
You worked for MTV, kind of like in the transition for what they were was pure rock videos, were very basic, to a new era of bringing rap music in and programming. And talk about your time over at MTV.
So I was at MTV for 10 years. Like, that's really, my foundation is MTV. Like, that is, it's one of those things where after college, you'll see a couple of companies that do it, like McKinsey, they have their alumni. MTV has its own alumni. And so it's people that came up through the trenches at MTV. And that was, an amazing time. I was in my 20s. And so,
a fun time, right?
Fun
in your 20s,
right.
Working, you got to go to spring break.
Go to spring break.
Twist my arm, right?
Right.
Okay.
So it was interesting because I was never home. And actually, it's how I moved to Westchester. So I was living in Brooklyn, and I would never be home. And I worked in Times Square. And if anyone knows Times Square, when you get out of Times Square, I don't care if it's 5 p.m. or 10 p.m., it's the same amount of people.
A lot of electricity.
Yeah. And then when I was living in Brooklyn, I'd get off the train, the exact same thing. I was like, I need peace. I need some peace. And I looked in the New York Times and found Westchester.
That's how you came
That's how I came up here. Yeah. But MTV was a great time. Started in finance, then production finance, went on to business manager. I was always on shows. So that was always my thing. I always worked the Video Music Awards. I worked the Beach House. Was bi-coastal for a bit. Would be in California for a couple of weeks. In LA or Malibu. It was my first time in California.
Let's see, MTV, Malibu, LA.
I know, yeah.
Terrible.
It was rough. No, there's one story I'll tell you. It'll be really quick. We did a shoot in South Beach with The Grind. I don't know if you remember that dance show. And, it was always bikinis and like young people, whatever. Anyways. So I go down and I'm the production accountant. And, back in those days, I was just happy as a 20-year-old to be traveling. And I had a real tough production manager and great woman still, we keep in touch to this day. She let me know that I was here to work. Mm-hmm. So I ended up spending that entire trip, and we were down there for 2 weeks in South Beach, staying on South Beach in Miami in the office. The entire time.
You didn't see the beach
I didn't
once.
see
You didn't see one party.
I didn't see one party. And it was, my luck that MTV had an office on Lincoln in South Beach. So when we wrapped production, I'd have to go to Lincoln to the office. And I was working probably from 9 to 8, and it was like, all right, this is work. This isn't fun. This is really work. And you really have to hold yourself to a certain level of excellence.
Of course.
Even though you may have a great job.
When the work's done, go to the hotel at night and then
Right.
have a drink and then hit the bed and
hit the bed.
back
Yeah,
at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then from there I went to MTV Animation. Was head of studio operations, was director of studio operations. I had like 300 employees reporting into me, from animators to writers to producers to directors. Reported to the VP of production and the president of MTV Animation until we shut down. So yeah, and it was shut down after 9/11. It was early 2002 that we shut down the studio.
So MTV is almost 40 years old now.
Right.
How the youth watch television is vastly different than how we grew up watching TV.
Yeah.
What is the future of MTV and TV as we see it?
Right.
I mean, is everything going to be on the damn cell phone? Or,
I think so.
Or can we keep our big screen TVs?
Yeah, I think we only like our big screen TVs, which is interesting because from a marketing point of view, you always sold.
But people 40 and above have more of the money than the youth.
This is true. This is true.
It's still pretty attractive to the advertisers.
Yeah, they do have more money, but I know I can get more volume out of the youth, right? Because I have 4 kids, and I don't think any of them are married to the TV. We have a living room. I gotta have 4 kids in the living room, all on their phones.
And they never, to them, a house phone is really a relic.
That's a relic.
A house phone. They're calling it a house phone.
Yeah.
Talk about, we're talking a little bit off air about, working with athletes in the media, and certainly your company laid the blueprint on what we see of LeBron James right now. What he's doing, he's going real international business, going Hollywood. He wants to influence Hollywood and change the scope and give a new voice to a new generation of people. And your company kind of laid the foundation for that. Explain that.
So I had I worked at Sesame Workshop, and right before my last days at Sesame, I was engaged by a high net worth family. That high net worth family, the dad was trying to figure out what can I do with my sons, and his sons were my age, and I did that project as a consultant. And when I finished that, I just thought like, wow. So who has access to capital, young, and really trying to figure out what's my best next move without blowing all my money? And I thought about athletes, and then I came up with the idea of, wow, if I can consult athletes on their business opportunities. I know business really well, I know finance really well. And I said, all right, so let me go back and get some more education. So I went back to Harvard Business School. My first day at Harvard Business School was the inaugural day of the NFL Symposium. Just weird circumstance. I ended up meeting.
It opened up a whole new vista of your life.
Whole new vista of my life. I ended up meeting my first athlete client, my partner, who's been with me till the day, my financial partner. And from then on, just started working with athletes. And it was, we did a real estate project. We had a couple of different ventures where we were just looking at, hey, I don't want you to put all your money into this. I want you to put enough money that it can be viable, but if you lose it, it won't hurt you. And that was always my pitch.
And there's always been stories through the years, players investing in restaurants, bars, getting scammed. And even musicians, Billy Joel went broke because of his accountant, basically. So it's not unusual for artists and athletes to get scammed by people.
Right.
So what you created is something, you're looking for something safe for these guys.
So I'll give you one story. I had a guy I was working with from the Patriots, and he was looking to get into a business, and his accountant, and no, it wasn't an accountant, it was an attorney. His attorney pitched him on a business opportunity, and he said, look, you got to put in $100,000 as a deposit. And what I would do, and the way we would work, we always work with the financial advisors to understand what can they afford. Because a lot of times, an athlete doesn't understand what he can afford.
And he's helping a lot of family members out as well.
Right, he's an overhead.
Friends.
Right.
They're over the heads in a lot of ways.
Yeah, so he's an overhead, and then what can you afford? And so, and I knew this athlete specifically, he had about $90,000 to $100,000 in the bank. And I said, you can't afford to put $100,000 out. It's like, that's all you have. Like, you can put $9,000 out, maybe $10,000, That's a safe investment, still a lot of money, but still, it's safe. And he said, all right, can you get on the phone with the guys that are pitching? I was like, great. I was like, I tell you what, here's what I'll do. We won't talk numbers, but they're gonna give you the answer without talking numbers. And so we were on the phone, we were talking to his attorney, and I said, all right, look, it seems like a great opportunity. How much of your net worth you think you should put into this? And they're like, oh, no more than 2 to 5%. I was like, all right, thank you, have a good day. And without even talking numbers, he understood the type of risk he should be taking. And that's really the type of risk we've always promoted to our athletes. Like, take risks, but take risks that are controlled. If you're sitting on $1 million, look at $100,000 investment total in different things. Don't put $500,000 into it, because now you're risking your livelihood, and your well-being. And you should, you've worked hard, you earned the money, so you should take some risks. But it just have to be measured risks. It's the biggest thing I've said to athletes, till the cows come home. And I've spoken to a couple of different panels. It's always take risks, but take controlled risks. Understand what your net worth is, and if not, talk to your advisor to figure out what can you afford to take risk on. And then you'll have a game plan. If you look at what LeBron's doing, he's educated everyone in his group. He's taken controlled risks. You haven't seen him take any significant, venture investments where it's like, oh my gosh, you spent so much money or invested so much money. It's more of, all right, a little bit here, a little bit there. And his branding has so much value. He can say, look, I'm writing a check and I'm involved. And so the biggest difference in our model, which is what you're seeing with LeBron compared to what was happening previously, was either an athlete wanted a ton of upside for their name, and from the venture side or from the entrepreneurial side, they didn't see the value because they still had to raise capital. Right. So like, all right, well, I have you as a spokesperson, but are you going to move the needle? What's that value proposition for me? And then it becomes, no, I'm going to write a check. It's not going to be a big check, but I'm going to be able to say that I'm invested in this. So you'll look at a lot of times when you see LeBron make investments, you won't see the number.
Right. You talk about that, and I go back to when I was a kid growing up, and Joe DiMaggio, Mr. Coffee.
Right. I remember that.
He really moved, this coffee machine.
Yeah.
At the time, Mr. Coffee was because of Joe DiMaggio, the Yankee Clipper. So when you say move a needle, the image really has to impact the product.
Right. All right. And you remember the George Foreman grill?
Yes, the George Foreman grill. Come on, Big
grill.
George.
That was.
Well, anyway, the Mr. Corey Galloway, new owner of the New York Streets, playing up at the Westchester County Center. When does the season start? Coming in
April.
April.
Yeah,
okay, kick off in April. You're going to be there. Yeah. Got some big things planned.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're really excited about our tailgate, which I think everyone will enjoy, and it's David Falk, the agent.
Absolutely. Yeah.
His daughter's handling all of that. And she's amazing. David Falk's amazing too, but she's been phenomenal.
Oh, you have to come back and see us, and we'll be up there at the county center supporting you.
Yeah, I'd like to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. I'm Mike Damergis.
Thank you.